I wanted to speak to you about the new road protest that took place in Braunstone in the early 90s and how the community came together to protest against it.
Okay, the community didn't want that road in the first place, and we put arguments up with the council saying, you know, it was very dangerous, and to put a main through road through a community which split the community in two halves. But once decisions are made, local people are ignored, and like their concerns are never taken on board. And that's what happened. And then one day, Rebecca Barr, she got killed on that road. So then the community was in uproar. So they demonstrated for quite a long time, and it was very strong and it had very good effects. But the only way the residents stood down is because the parents of the child that got killed asked us to stop doing it. So that's why they stopped doing it, in respect for the loss of their daughter.
But because they actually put, so the situation was, it was originally just like
Greens.
just a green area of grass.
Yeah.
And they decided to just, which kids played on, and it was like a community area, and they decided they needed this new main road to cut through, so they just basically built a massive main road right through
the estate.
So it got rid of all that communal area, but obviously it was a really dangerous, busy road.
Yeah.
And the residents warned that it would happen.
Yeah.
And it did, tragically. But it was because of the protest that they put the fences up, is that right?
Well, fences, and then it's underground, but it's horrible. And we didn't want that in the first place, but that was the cheapest option. So again, they went for the cheapest option. But it's not what residents wanted at the time, but it was safer than just having that main road through. But to use the underpasses, they're not very nice, and it's quite scary, really.
Yeah, I've been through it myself. I've lived on the estate myself for a couple of years.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm familiar with it. But nonetheless, it was, I mean, it's not ideal, but it was as a result of the protesting that those safety measures were implemented.
Yeah.
Which, if they'd have listened to the residents' concerns from the get-go, not only would the young girl not have been killed, but we would have prevented other issues.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's just, often it's working class people that are the ones who aren't listened to. You know, if it's a posh area, they do. You know, if they're going to build a McDonald's or they're going to do this or that, they'll get together, get in touch with the councillors and their MPs, and they do tend to have much better chance of getting what they want and getting listened to. So it's just, and I think that's what, with all of the problems we're facing at the minute, I think it's working class voices seem to be left out, not entirely. You know, there's
do they exist anymore, working class people?
Well, yeah, I mean, technically it's anybody who works for a wage and doesn't own and control, you know, factories or run the state. But I think everybody knows what working class means. You know, it tends to be the people on the lowest pay. It tends to be people who live in marginalised areas. It tends to be people often who haven't got the life opportunities that better off people have got, and they're often just left and ignored and negatively stereotyped and just left to rot and seen as not having any use. But I can see, with the example of a community coming together and achieving what it did there, it just goes to show what working class people can do, what they can achieve, and that tradition of pride and solidarity when they're pushed to do something about it. So that's how I see it, really. It's like the left behind and ignored voices, people who live on council estates, people who are getting what's going on with austerity. Everybody's getting affected by it. Middle class people are being affected by it. And everyone's got a right to be annoyed about it and to want to fight back against it. But it's hitting the poorest communities the absolute worst. You know, it's mental health problems and drug and alcohol problems and addictions and crime and in and out of prison and things, without justifying what people do. You know, sometimes they deserve some kind of comeuppance for what they do, but it's just that kind of, there's no rehabilitation, no proper support, no, you know, like the rebuilding of our communities to give us the self-respect.
The richer get richer, the poorer get poorer,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
each time the wave cuts has a different effect. And if you're from one of the poorest areas, it's like your education. Education is fundamental, but often, like you working with depression, drug, alcoholic abuse, and that tends to happen with poorer societies. And to me, like I come from, my mum and dad were grassroots people, so they taught us quite a lot of political things, but I never believed in the Labour Party, never believed in any of the parties that serve the people, because I all think they're a load of waste of time people that promise you everything to get in power and can deliver absolutely nothing to the working class people except cut them even more back. Like Braunstone lost its school, which is turned into a swimming pool. It lost the post office, it lost quite a lot of things. We've lost our community centre, we've lost the bank, and it's all been sold off privately, and the community centre where people used to meet can no longer meet there because it's not a community centre anymore. So again, it's making people more isolated, and I just think the generations, there's nothing there for them, and that's the worrying, because then like you're looking at obesity, mental health issues, confidence issues, all kinds of issues within young people, and because the schools, they're losing like TAs as well, and that's a massive impact in classrooms, and I just think it's all wrong. It all affects young people, especially from working class areas.
It's absolutely terrible, but it's just I believe at some point it's going to be like the situation with, I remember the campaign to get the school open, the Wyclife action group,
Yeah.
and the campaign with the new road, and the campaigns that have been going on to defend these adventure playgrounds. I think that is going to come to the surface, and I think it is working class people who are going to do it themselves, because they'll just reach a breaking point. And I think it is about communities, because it's that thing that's missing, is communities, community cohesion, people coming together. It's just isolation and a total breakdown of just being left and abandoned. And I think that's what we really need, is reconnection. Doing it ourselves on the ground, on the grassroots, and rebuilding.
But also when you're in different campaigns, and like I was massively involved in the Wyclife school campaign, and I remember what's his name, Blunkett, he was education secretary at the time, and like the committee decided to do him like a big letter in Braille, and I said that's the wrong thing to do, because he'll turn it around and saying that we're being discriminated against him because he's blind, and he did exactly that. And I remember he got a group, I called them penguins at the time, a group of 4 men all dressed in black suits with dicky bows, coming over to Wycliffe School saying, you know, like they couldn't afford to keep the school on and blah blah blah. And like, I asked a question, and like the man says, oh, I know how you feel, and I thought, that's so, why would he say that? He don't know me from Adam. Like, he's coming into our back garden telling us, like, we've got to lose this school. Like, would I go into his back garden and do the same thing? No. And like, equal opportunities and all that, I think it's a load of rubbish himself, because it depends on where that is placed, and people further up in the ladder that make these decisions that they've got no thing of walking in somebody else's shoes, I think it's so wrong.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think that's one of the problems, is a lot of political people, liberals and people on the left, I don't think they've got a clue what's actually going on and what people really have to put up with on a daily basis. I don't think they understand at all. I've tried explaining it to people, and just the seething rage and just the way that you see people getting completely torn apart. You can just tell they just can't comprehend it, and I think it's just time that they really start to take this seriously and just realise just how absolutely devastating it's becoming for people. Because it's the same with, I developed a really serious drink problem, and I engaged with the Quality of Life service in Leicester, and they closed that, downsized it and closed it. It was absolutely amazing. It was all working class people, it was peer led, it was a lot of guys who'd been in and out of prison, come from the States, been through some really, what happened to me was bad enough, but some of these guys really been through some awful stuff, and they were like, some of them had become peer mentors and like the leaders of that community that existed there. Those were the guys you'd go for assistance, sit down like this and chat to them. People who've been through the worst experiences, you get advice and support, and it sorted me out. Those were the guys who sorted me out. It was a life-changing thing to be a part of, and they just take it apart. So all of those guys, it was a real lifeline, keeping their nose above the water, just gone, and we just lost touch with it. And we're just getting more and more and more and more of it. And again, it just shows you what those people who are so negatively stereotyped, what they can achieve when given the opportunity, and what they can overcome, the things you wouldn't know.
Well, it's like young people that's going through mental health issues. Now, to get your foot on the ladder, to get into CAMS, is a long process. And I think like organisations like that are becoming less and less, and I just think it's so wrong, because the service that you can access are no longer there. So if you're stuck in crisis, like having the energy and to foresee where you can access things, and if you try, go to one place, that door's closed, and another place, that door's closed, it just takes your confidence away and takes your motivation away. When you've got like low self-esteem, and to come across all these different hurdles, like, I just really feel for people.
Yeah, so do I. It is just getting worse and worse. Do you have any, maybe just to finish off, do you have any hope for the future? Do you think there's anything positive what could come of it? Because I believe people will just reach a breaking point and will come together out of necessity.
Well,
and something positive will come out of that. That's
and like, some people talk like jokers. Do you know, where are we going to find money to make this work? And like, the new buzzword is crowdfunding.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, sign up to crowdfunding and you'll get this and you'll get that. Well, people only give so much, and then like, you do get fed up with giving, I don't know what the future is. I don't know, but you always have to have hope, and you always do have to stay positive. But sometimes that's really difficult to do.
It's just about time that people...
I think people are tired.
Yeah.
They've gone from supporting one thing after another thing after another thing. And if you do see closure, and like, to be on a campaign, you do need energy, you do need motivation, and then like, if you've not won that campaign, like, you just feel exhausted after it. So I think it's you have to choose your battles, and then like, you have to sort of like maintain your well-being within that battle as well. You know, because I remember in the early days I used to be really passionate and put everything into it. Then at the end of it, like, completely drained and exhausted.
Yeah, it's common. Activist people, community activists, end up burned out. It's a common thing. So maybe we'll leave it there, unless you have anything to finally sum up with, any other extra comments.
I just hope that people like look at young people and invest in young people rather than cut and take everything away from them. Unless you've got like the money to support the things that your children do, but a lot of working class families have not got that money. They're on low wages, low incomes.
All the communities should be getting behind this, really, and we should be defending each other, because it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's an emergency. You know, it's killing us in some instances. So yeah, I'll give the links below, and please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please comment below if you have anything to say. We could maybe have a discussion about it. And I'd just like to give a big thank you to Bethan for agreeing to the interview, because I want this channel to be a voice for working class people and experiences and what's going on the ground in the real world. So I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.